Hello, good morning.
Hello, how are
Hello,
you?
Stefan. I'm good. How are you?
Doing very well. It's a beautiful Monday in Berlin.
Great. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our next Ask Me Anything session. Today with us, there's Stefan. Unfortunately, we already had a try where we had technical issues, but now this time he's actually here. Thank you for joining us again, Stefan. I'm really happy that you made it a second time for us. And the audience doesn't know so much about you or your home country or the country where you grew up, part of your childhood. So, can you just tell us something about yourself?
Sure. So, I'm from a very small country near to Venezuela and Brazil, and its name is Guyana, not French Guyana. It was called British Guyana, but since 1966, it's now just called Guyana. So, as you can probably figure out, since it's near to Venezuela and Brazil, it's in South America. Now, it has a very small population, and it is extremely diverse, right next to the Amazon. But some fast facts. Like I said, it's in South America. There's a very small population, around 750,000 people, and the capital is Georgetown, and that's actually where I grew up.
Okay, thank you, Stefan. Also, einmal kurz auf Deutsch. Keine Sorge, wenn ihr gerade noch nicht so viel verstanden habt, aber ich hoffe, Stefan hat schon mal eure Aufmerksamkeit geweckt. Ihr seht schon, es geht schnell voran mit dem Englisch, aber wie immer, macht euch keine Sorgen, wenn ihr nicht alles versteht. Der Akzent ist wahrscheinlich neu für euch und Stefan wird euch auch gleich erklären, warum. Und es ist auch nicht unbedingt der Guyanese Accent. Also da ist auch ein Mix drin, das heißt, es ist bestimmt noch was ganz Neues für euch. Und wie immer das Wichtigste bei solchen Sessions ist, lasst euch einfach drauf ein, versucht zu hören, ob ihr neue Wörter erkennt, ob ihr alte Wörter wiedererkennt, was ihr verstehen könnt. Und wie immer könnt ihr immer Fragen stellen. Das ist uns sehr wichtig, denn so wissen wir, was wir wiederholen müssen, damit ihr euch sicher seid, dass ihr es richtig verstanden habt oder einfach, dass eure Fragen beantwortet werden und ihr so viel wie möglich erfahrt, wie ihr möchtet. All right. So you already told us some facts about Guyana. And now I'm curious if the audience could catch it. And we have some quiz questions, as always, to find out whether they actually understood what you said. So the first question is, where is Guyana located? Das ist jetzt eine Frage an euch. Wo befindet sich Guyana? And we have three options. Can you name the options, Stefan?
Sure. So, as Karina said, where is Guyana located? Is it A, in South America, B, in Africa, or C, the continent of Oceania?
We'll give the audience a few seconds. And you can also see the question. What do you think? I saw there are already some answers before we even read out the multiple choice.
Seems like we have some sharp students.
Yeah, it's Monday morning and everybody is awake. That's great. All right. We have an option saying South America. We have C. Hello, welcome to the joiners who just arrived. Another option, C. Okay, do you want to tell us the answer?
Well, it is a little toughy because it's such a small country and not well known, but the answer is A, South America. So congratulations to those who got it right. Congratulations to those who made other choices. Now you know it's in South America.
Okay, it's South America, Südamerika. Okay, ich kann auch verstehen, warum ihr nicht darauf gekommen seid, also manche, dass es Südamerika ist, weil ihr das wahrscheinlich oft mit der spanischen oder vielleicht auch portugiesischen Sprache verbindet. Aber gut, zum Thema Sprache kommen wir später. Richtige Antwort, Südamerika. Okay, question number 2, Stefan.
So, Guyana there's a common phrase associated with it. So Guyana means land of many, and then the options are A, flowers, so land of many flowers, B, waters, land of many waters, or C, seasons, land of many seasons. Which is it?
Mhm.
This is a tricky one.
The first two options sound beautiful. The third one sounds like, I don't know, it wouldn't convince me. But we don't go by beauty, we go by the meaning of the name. What do you think?
I think you are right.
You cannot say anything. Ah, okay. Okay, a few more seconds to think. Also, I think my internet is a little slow, so maybe you might the answers might arrive to you earlier than to me. If you can see anything, just read it out loud. Or maybe this is just a tricky question. B, okay, we have land of many waters. And by the way, you're not allowed to Google if you're using the time for that. Okay. So is the answer B correct?
So the answer B, land of many waters, is correct.
Yay, good job. Okay, very good. Sigrid, Albert, very good. It's B, land of many waters. Also, it's situated in the Caribbean. So, by the way, is it Caribbean or Caribbean?
That is a very interesting question. It depends on the person, the accent. So
Okay.
in some countries, their dialect, the way they speak English, they say Caribbean.
Mhm.
Others say Caribbean. So to say one's more correct than the other would just imply one accent is right and the other isn't, and that would probably get me in trouble.
That's true. Okay, perfect answer. Also, nochmal auf Deutsch zusammengefasst. Ich hatte gesagt Caribbean, aber dann ist mir eingefallen, in ein paar Liedern hatte ich auch mal Caribbean gehört. Es ging um die Aussprache. Und Stefan hat uns gerade erzählt, es kommt einfach auf den Akzent an und beide Aussprachemöglichkeiten sind möglich. Also noch besser für uns, egal wie wir sagen es richtig. Perfekt. Okay, kommen wir zur dritten Frage, the third question, which is?
The third question is, how many inhabitants are there in Guyana? Around A, 75,000, so there are 75,000 inhabitants in Guyana, or B, 750,000, so 750,000 inhabitants in Guyana, or 7.5 million, so 7.5 million inhabitants in Guyana. So this is also, pretty broad question, but if you were paying really close attention in the beginning, you may have just gotten the answer.
Mhm.
Good luck, everyone.
Ja, wenn ihr gut aufgepasst habt, dann habt ihr die Antwort schon am Anfang gehört. Okay, we have A, B, B. Okay, people are more brave on this question. So Do you like numbers more than letters? Okay, until now, most people are saying it's B. Is B correct?
B, 750,000. So 750,000 inhabitants in Guyana. It's very little. It's less than the population of Berlin, but it is correct.
Yay, okay, good job, everyone. Also weniger Einwohner als in Berlin sogar. Okay, thank you. Now we have a small impression of what Guyana might be like. But of course, we have many more questions for you, Stefan. But before we start with you, I would like to ask the audience. Also an euch alle, was wisst ihr überhaupt schon über Guyana? Habt ihr schon mal davon gehört? Habt ihr irgendwelche Stichwörter, die euch in den Kopf fliegen? Schreibt es gerne in die Kommentare und wir gucken mal, ob Stefan irgendwas damit anfangen kann, ob ihr vielleicht schon richtig liegt bei irgendwas oder ob ihr vielleicht Vorstellungen habt, von denen Stefan euch gleich erzählen wird, dass sie eigentlich gar nicht stimmen. Let's see. So I must say, I heard of this country when I was traveling through South America, and my friend went there for vacation. So apparently it's a really beautiful place with nice sea to swim, maybe even to snorkel.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in the last 10 years, it's gotten much more tourist friendly. However, so there are many resorts, etc. Previously, that wasn't the case though, because it's just there's so much water everywhere. There are rivers everywhere, so you just kind of like you can imagine it as a nation with many sort of pockets of land just surrounded by water. You need a boat to go almost anywhere.
Ah, okay.
It's kind of crazy, yeah.
That's why it's
So
the land of many waters. That
it
explains the
really is.
name.
Yeah, and then it's just on the Amazon. So it took them a while because they had to build a lot
Regenwald.
of infrastructure, bridges and whatnot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you just said Amazon, and this is one of the keywords that we find in the chat. Regenwald, rainforest.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what else do you know? Or if you don't know anything, that's perfectly fine. But what can you imagine? How do you imagine it? Oh, Calypso-Musik. Interessant.
This is very true. That
Nice.
is very true. There's a ton of calypso music. Yeah, very, very neat observation. You know, I myself didn't think of that. Yeah, good job.
Can you explain Calypso music?
Ah, How would I? So I grew up surrounded by it. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
it is what's normal. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a type of music that's very popular in Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, I'm trying to think of a famous singer.
We
You
can
know,
also do some research after that.
yeah, that's
I
a good.
didn't.
But I guess one thing, yes, one thing that stands out from calypso music as opposed to normal music is they have special instruments.
Mm-hmm.
They're called they're like pan instruments. So one's called the steel pan. So it makes this very particular sound, and it's a very shiny instrument with that looks. How do I describe it? If you look at sort of not a sphere, but like dodecahedron, like it has all these triangles on it. How do I describe it? So think of triangles and
Uh-huh.
imagine a sphere, but just made of triangles instead. So it's
Okay,
not smooth,
interesting.
right? So now
Mm-hmm.
imagine cutting that through the center. Imagine it's
Uh-huh.
hollow, and then looking at the bottom. That's what the inside of a steel pan looks like, right? And then
Okay,
it has
interesting.
around it, and so they tap on it with something similar to drumsticks, and it makes
Mhm.
these really cool sounds. Like it sounds like boing 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 boing.
Aha, okay, that helps already more.
It's a very unique sound, and I didn't realize how unique it was until I moved to North America and then to Europe, because I thought, everyone has a steel pan, right? No, very very niche instrument.
Wow, okay. So, yeah, thank you about these insights. I encourage the audience to look up some music on YouTube and to listen to this special instrument. That sounds like Stefan just performed for us. Ja, also er hat gesagt, dass dieses Instrument oder diese Art von Instrumenten sehr typisch und eigentlich auch ziemlich einzigartig sind. Also Stefan dachte, die wären ganz normal, bis er dann selbst mal nach Kanada zog, Nordamerika, oder als er dann nach Europa kam und feststellte, gar nicht so typisch überall auf der Welt. Also ja, Calypso-Music, sehr interessantes Thema, auch von den Textinhalten. Da könnt ihr einfach mal drauf achten, weil das auch teilweise die Kultur widerspiegeln kann. Und ja, Sigrid, maybe after the session you can check on YouTube. I will also check out some songs. It sounds super, super interesting. Ja. Adjektive, Adverbien. Toller Fehler, den ich da gemacht habe. It sounds interesting. Also etwas ist interesting mit ing am Ende. But I am interested, interessiert, interested in listening to this music. Okay, so if you don't have any other input for now, I would ask you, Stefan, to just tell us about some memories that stand out to you when you think about growing up in Guyana.
Well, there's certain things. So, what's interesting about Guyana is it has always been diverse. So, you have many people who travel from Brazil or Cuba or Barbados to find work.
Mhm.
And there are many descendants of Indians from India, the southern part of India, who came there in the like almost the 1800s, right, to help build the roadways. Then you have many Chinese immigrants who came just afterwards to set up small businesses. And of course, you had former slaves, which were there, became part of the culture. And you had the native Aboriginal folks who lived in the forest and who still to this day um, live a lot in the forest. So, and in addition to that, you had the Europeans who came slightly after that because they were already in Brazil and or in other places in South America. So it's extremely culturally diverse and was so from a very early time, like even back in the beginning of the 1900s. Many nations don't have that, so it's yielded quite an interesting ecosystem, I would say.
Mhm.
Um, but landmarks like the Stabroek News Tower, it shows up in every major newspaper, almost on the front page. It's like one of the landmarks that everyone's proud of. You have the largest single drop waterfall in the world. You have to go by helicopter. It's not accessible by just by land. It's
Mhm.
quite remarkable. And we have tons of natural resources: oil, bauxite, gold. In old stories, they refer to El Dorado, this hidden land where there's tons of gold and treasures. And for most of that time where they were in that gold rush, people thought it was somewhere in Guyana because it's so resource rich. What else? There's something I forgot to mention: a Roraima Plateau, which is shared between Guyana, Venezuela, and I think Brazil, and it's one of it's not an official wonder of the world, but that is one of the sort of most interesting landmarks in the South American landscape.
Mhm. What do you call this plateau?
Roraima, Roraima, I believe, or Mount Roraima. Sorry, Roraima Mountain.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Rima Mountain. And the
Yeah.
waterfall you mentioned is it the Kiter Falls?
Kaitor Falls. Kaiteur. Yeah.
Let me share this here, audience. Yes.
And what's amazing about the mountain is it's like almost completely flat.
Uh-huh.
It's just this giant like plateau.
Wow. I imagine
Yeah.
it's like in a movie, in the movie scene.
It kind of looks surreal. It's almost like it was, built by mythical beings, right? They're just up there hanging out, looking out over the world.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
sounds beautiful. After these sessions, I always feel like I need to book my next flight to somewhere. By the way, last time we spoke to Amy from South Africa, and the time before we had spoken to Chelsea from Canada. And if you missed that session or both sessions, then I highly recommend you to check them out maybe when you have some free time or another time during the week or after this session if you're really curious, because these sessions will also motivate you to travel somewhere or discover more about cultures in the English speaking world. But now back to Guyana, because my mind is already flying around in the whole world. Now we're in Guyana. And you created this beautiful image. And now I'm curious about your personal life there. So were there any traditions that you experienced that you feel like, oh yes, they were typical in Guyana and I haven't experienced them in other places?
Yes. So what's interesting in Guyana, like I mentioned, it was diverse from a very early time. So the culture there is kind of tribal, but in a sort of neighborhood manner. So, for example, I grew up celebrating Diwali, even though I am not Hindu, right? So everyone celebrates
Can
everyone's
you tell us
holidays.
more about this? Sorry. Can
Sure.
you tell us more about the holiday?
Yeah, of course. So Diwali is a special festival in Indian culture, and usually marked by lots of lights and fireworks. I think, don't quote me on this, I might be wrong, but I think it's actually the Festival of Lights. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Maybe I should look it up after and just double check, but I think so. And
Mhm.
so everyone lights candles, there are fireworks, right? And for example, in Europe and in North America, sort of different religions or different faiths celebrate, and others just observe the holiday. But in Guyana, that's not how it works. In Guyana, everyone actively celebrates everyone's holidays because
Wow.
we're integrated from hundreds of years prior, right? So it's like a true integration where you don't see any difference. So I didn't really know that Diwali was a Hindu holiday until I moved. I just thought it was everyone's holiday. So it's very
Wow.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. So
Okay, das
yeah,
heißt, ich übersetze einmal kurz. Also, Stefan sagt, in Guyana, dadurch, dass es so viele verschiedene Volksgruppen gibt und Einwanderer aus allen möglichen Ländern und Kontinenten gab, unter anderem aus Indien, werden dort auch Feiertage oder gibt es dort auch Feste und Feiertage, die von allen gefeiert werden, sogar wenn sie nicht zu dieser Religionsgruppe oder Volksgruppe dieser Gruppe angehören. So feierte auch er einen Feiertag aus Indien und dachte, das wäre einfach ganz normal oder beziehungsweise es war auch normal für ihn, weil einfach alle zusammen die Feiertage der anderen feiern. Und erst als er dann auch wieder aus Guyana wegzog, merkte er, vielleicht ist es in anderen Ländern anders und dort sind bestimmte Feiertage für bestimmte Menschen oder ja, nicht bestimmt, aber werden eher typischerweise von anderen, also von denen gefeiert. Das heißt, sehr inklusiv. That's super interesting. So you found out many things about different cultures by just living in this one small country in South
yep,
America.
Correct.
It's so
It's
interesting.
it's an extremely unique ecosystem. One thing I didn't mention earlier is in South America, the most common language is Spanish. The only exception is Brazil that speaks Portuguese, and us because we speak English, right?
Mhm.
But having so many South American immigrants, you hear Spanish as you grow up all the time. So I never formally learned to speak Spanish, but I understand it because I heard it all around me. And I understand some Hindi too for the same reason.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, it is it the more I spend time outside, the more I realize how unique this country is. And I think because it's so small, it afforded that opportunity as well. Because I
Mhm.
imagine if it was a large land with many, many, many people, there would probably be one sort of dominant culture.
Mhm.
But I think because it's so small, that's what's allowed it to stay this kind of interesting heterogeneous blend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, also er hat jetzt kurz noch mal über die Sprachen dort geredet und ja, English Creole is the main official language, but since there are so many other languages and they are also accepted and spoken in everyday life, Stefan, for example, understands Spanish, which is the main language in many South American countries. And he also understands Hindi, also eine Sprache aus Indien. Und das finde ich faszinierend, weil in diesem kleinen Land in Südamerika so eine Diversität auch an Sprachen existiert. Und ja, das ist was ganz Besonderes, denke ich. Cool. Very nice that you grew up there. Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. And now we started speaking about language already. So I looked up some proverbs before our session, and actually, I would like to know if they're actually used or if it's just something I find on the internet. And the one I found was when coconut fall from tree, he can't fasten back.
I have never heard that. Uh,
Okay. Hmm. It sounded logical to me. To me, it sounded like if a coconut falls, it cannot go back. So once you perform an action, it's you cannot go back in time. You just have to accept it. But apparently, this is not used, at least not used in your surroundings or your generation.
yeah.
So, do you maybe have something in mind that you heard when you were a child in Guyana?
So what I would hear all the time would be like, I guess, two sayings. One would be, "What happened? Monkey turned captain." Uh,
Okay.
so it's basically it's used in a way. Say you try to jump into a conversation, they'll say that to sort of say, like, okay, like we weren't talking to you. It's fine. But the other thing is when it's something a little crazy is happening. So they're telling you if a monkey becomes a captain, right? Clearly, like the order of things is like, not right or crazy, right? Because monkeys tend to be super energetic and wild and crazy. So that's what the other meaning of the saying. And the other one is so said, so done. So
Mhm.
it's kind of a when you're telling a story, it would be used more often. So, for example, and he was upset at him and said, go buy your own bicycle. And so said, so done. He went, bought his bike, and never asked him to borrow his bike again. Other guys.
Okay, we
So
have
it's
something like this in German. Do you know that? Gesagt, getan.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
also learning German, right?
Yes, I am. I am.
Okay, so
Nice.
gesagt, getan, you can use it, I think, in the same context.
That's beautiful. Maybe there's some hidden German influence in Guyana.
Well, German is also, or let's say English is also a Germanic language, so they do have the same roots, and yeah, it's traveled through the
Mhm.
world to get to Guyana. Maybe, yeah, this was also similar. This is how we are connected. That's amazing. See,
It
we grew
is.
up and we were born so many miles apart, and still we have the same language roots in
I
some
love
way. That's funny. Okay, so said, so done, we have it. And I just wanted to make sure the audience understood what happened. Monkey turned captain.
it. Mhm.
Habt ihr verstanden, was das heißt? Also wenn ein Monkey, ein Affe, plötzlich zum Captain wird, dann kommt alles möglicherweise durcheinander. Und das ist genau das, was diese Redewendung besagt. Also wenn irgendeine verrückte Situation passiert, dann what happened, monkey turned captain. Can I, is it very colloquial, or could I also use it at work, for example? Let's say we are in Google Meet and then there's a wrong link and then somebody's camera is not working. And then you could say, oh no, what happened? Monkey turned captain. Could I say this?
You could, but it would be very funny because usually it's meant in like it's meant to be used in relaxed conversations.
Okay.
So you could do it if, say, you were really close to your coworkers and you're just, trying to be funny about a mistake. But for example, in a meeting with 1,000 other individuals, many that you didn't know well, you wouldn't use that turn of phrase.
Okay, that's good to know. Also wir haben manche Redewendungen, durch die wir gehobener und eloquenter sind. Natürlich ist das auch schön, diese Redewendung zu kennen, aber sie wird eher in umgangssprachlichen oder entspannteren Kontexten verwendet. Okay, very good to know. Okay, cool. And do you know any other ones?
I'm very hard pressed. I would say I left Guyana just before I turned a teenager, so I imagine there are a lot of interesting phrases I didn't learn. But those two I hear so often. So I didn't mention this earlier, but although we're a very small country, we seem to have sort of Guyanese pockets in different countries. So, for example, in Canada and in the UK and in the US, most notably, so they hold yearly events where all the Guyanese people just congregate together.
Cool.
And if you are to go to any of these events, I do promise you will hear both of those phrases at least once.
Okay. So said, so done.
Yes.
Could be now. I will go there. So said,
There
so
you
done.
go. So said, so done. Karina went to the last lap line and indeed heard those phrases.
Yeah. That would be another interesting thing to do on my bucket list.
Yeah.
And actually, I wanted to ask you about one more idiom, and I think you will like this idiom, but I'm not sure if it's used a lot. It is this one. Dance a bottom, watch a tap.
I have heard that before. But I actually don't know what that means. But I've heard it before.
Can you guess what it might mean, at least according to the translations I could find?
Dance a bottom, watch a tap. I guess, yeah, I guess it's you be wary when you're having fun.
What does wary mean?
Oh, sorry, be diligent. Yeah, be diligent. Okay. So I guess watch out for things that could be threatening or dangerous around you.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's exactly the meaning of this idiom. So when you're enjoying yourself, still watch out for potential threats around you.
Always be diligent. Always be observing.
Always be cautious.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Well, maybe if I go to this Guyanese event, I will listen around to see if this is actually something that's used or not. And if not, why not introduce it again? I really like this idiom. All right. So now I asked you many questions, but I guess the audience will also have many things to ask. Jetzt seid ihr dran. Ihr könnt eure Fragen stellen zum Thema Kultur, Essen, Musik, was auch immer euch anfällt. Und Stefan ist jetzt für euch da, um eure Fragen zu beantworten. Let's see. Did we cover all the topics already? I don't think so. Aha, there's a question. Is it easy to travel around your country?
Ah, so from when I was last there, unfortunately not. There is more infrastructure, so it's easier than before. There are more bridges, etc. But as I mentioned previously, Guyana is the land of many waters. So there are many massive rivers running through the country, which often means, let me give a comparison. If you're in Germany, say you want to go to Munich, you could take one train and get there. Guyana, there would be a massive river, like two massive rivers uh, between us and Munich, right? And usually you'd have to travel by boat, and the water, because Guyana is below sea level and it's connected to the ocean, the water is not calm. It's choppy, very rough. So you need experts to like carry on a boat through, like back and forth through the river, and they do that all day. Many of them. Um, so, in order for us to be able to say have transport from the equivalent of Berlin to Munich, though Guyana is not that big, you would need a truly massive bridge, right? And so, yeah, in many areas it's just not possible, and you have to go by boat. So yeah, that's one of the downsides, but it is very different from any sort of landscape you'll ever see. So I think that makes it worth going just in itself.
Also nicht so einfach durch Guyana zu reisen. Man kann nicht einfach einen Zug nehmen wie in Deutschland von Berlin nach München mit einem ICE fahren, falls es diese Verbindung gibt. Das weiß ich nicht. Aber es ist auf jeden Fall noch schwieriger, denn wir haben viele Flüsse und eine sehr starke Strömung, da Guyana unter dem Meeresspiegel liegt. Right? Below sea level, you said. So yeah, the current, do you say this? Die Strömung is very strong and very rough. Okay, also nicht so einfach, aber es gibt natürlich Menschen, die dabei helfen. Das heißt, ihr müsst nicht durch diese Flüsse schwimmen. Es gibt Menschen, die euch da mit dem Boot begleiten und von A nach B bringen. Also es ist nicht so einfach, weil wir das gar nicht gewohnt sind. Aber ich denke, es ist trotzdem eine sehr interessante und auch wunderschöne Erfahrung. Sounds exciting.
It really is.
And what kind of animals do you have?
Ooh, what kind of animals don't we have? Is the
Oh.
correct question. So remember, we're right next to the Amazon. So interesting fact: many, I forget the name now, a scientist that studies animals. They come to Guyana because when they go into the Amazon rainforest, even to this day, they're discovering species of animals they did not know existed. So take that in. Like, for example, maybe half a decade ago, they discovered the existence of this giant blue tarantula, and they're like, "What? This is a real animal? This is crazy!" You know, and they found it, like in the forest near Guyana. So we have untold species of like just ridiculous numbers of plants and insects. Some of these plants are predatory plants. So like the
Can you
Venus
explain?
flytrap. So plants that eat insects for sustenance. So they're active. So for example, say a fly buzzes by, the plant will go. Right?
And can you repeat the name again, please?
So Venus flytrap is an example of one such plant. Though I'm not sure if this particular plant grows in South America, but we have many such plants. And we have so different types of what do you call it? Jungle cats, right? It's just many, many, many species of snake. So a very funny,
Schlangen.
yeah, very funny way to say it is I was extremely afraid of camping when I first moved to Canada because uh, in Guyana there's so many animals and some of them are dangerous, right? That camping is not an activity that you do for fun because it is extremely dangerous. So when I moved to Canada and folks told me, "Oh yeah, myself and my entire family, we went camping for 2 weeks," I started shaking. I'm like, "Oh my goodness, what were you running away from that you risked your life every day for 2 weeks in the forest?"
That's funny. Okay, also als Stefan nach Kanada gezogen ist, war er geschockt, dass die Leute, die ganze Familie dort freiwillig 2 Wochen campen war, denn in Guyana kann es lebensgefährlich sein zu campen. Also, das empfiehlt er euch wahrscheinlich nicht. You don't recommend this to our audience, right? Going out on a camping trip in Guyana? Okay.
Not
Nicht
in the
campen,
forest,
nicht
unless
im
you have
Dschungel.
really good, uh, guides, who live
Mhm,
there because there are peoples that have always lived in the forest, and
mhm,
they maintain paths through generations. Like, they
mhm,
maintain safe areas. Like, they actively will keep the snakes out, make sure the plants that grow there aren't poisonous. Like, all they do they've been doing it for generations, and they continue. So with
mhm.
them, it is safe if you follow their instructions.
Mhm. Okay,
Not
ganz
recommend.
wichtig. Also, es
Yeah.
gibt natürlich auch Bevölkerungsgruppen, die schon lange in den Regenwäldern leben, die sich da komplett auskennen mit den Pflanzen, mit den Tieren, die, euch dann teilweise auch unterstützen können. Also, teilweise leiten sie dann auch kleine Touristengrüppchen, aber ihr müsst wissen, mit wem ihr geht und euch auf jeden Fall an die Menschen halten, die sich dort auskennen, die dort leben. Und es ist auch nicht so, dass ihr einfach dahin gehen könnt in den Dschungel und die verschiedenen Völker besucht. Also das sind eigene Kulturen auch und das muss man respektieren. Also informiert euch bitte, wenn ihr fahrt. Also auch hier war Thema Accommodation, also where to sleep. Informiert euch genau, was ihr machen möchtet. Falls ihr eine Dschungelerfahrung machen möchtet, dann schaut mit wem und wie das funktioniert, wie man das respektvoll gestalten kann und wie man das gestalten kann, dass es nicht gefährlich für euch wird. All
Mm.
right. And yeah, I would say we can answer, or you can answer one more question.
Mhm.
So maybe if you have more questions, write them in the chat. So Stefan, then you might pick one. And
Sure.
yeah, let's just give them a few more seconds. Also eure Chance, eure letzte Frage zu stellen. Und Stefan wird sich dann eine aussuchen, die er beantwortet.
Mm.
This is what he had said before, the blue tarantula. Mhm. Okay, let's say 10 more seconds to ask a question and then you can pick.
I don't
6.
know, Karina, if um there's a link. Maybe if I could put it. Oh, I guess I can. Should I send it to you?
Yeah, you can send it to me.
To of the blue. It was in 2017 that they discovered the blue tarantula.
Mhm. Okay. So while I'm opening the link, you can already pick the question. Actually, there's only one direct question. What is the most impressive old building in Georgetown?
Ah, easy. The Stabrick News Tower. It's been there since time immemorial, and it's like the symbol of Georgetown and by extension Guyana.
Okay.
So it's Stabrook spelled. It
Also,
has weird spelling, so it's Stab. Roek, I believe. You want to look that up.
Can you please repeat the spelling, Stefan?
Stabroek. So yeah.
Okay. Great. So you can also.
Sorry, you might have better luck if you search for the clock tower at Stabroek Market.
Okay, so search for the clock tower in Georgetown, and you will see the most impressive building in Georgetown. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Stefan. We learned many things about Guyana today. Ich hoffe, ihr habt auch viel mitgenommen. Ich habe auf jeden Fall viel gelernt. Und ja, dann verabschieden wir uns schon. Es ging schnell um. We wish you all a great day. Thank you so much, Stefan, for sharing your knowledge and experiences with us. Super, super interesting.
Well, it was a pleasure to interact with all of you, listeners, as well as Karina. You do a wonderful job. I can see why everyone loves the show.
Well, thank you. Also because of guests like you.
Okay.
So yeah, thank you so much and see you next week. Bye.
Bye, everyone.